Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop.
Hey emojis, welcome back to my channel. Today is Vlogmas Day 22 and I'm going to be giving you guys 4 book recommendations / kind of reviews. So first of all, these are all 4 are romance books. So the very first book that I'm going to be saying is called Kisses and Croissants, which I do not have with me right now, but I will put a picture up here. And it was the very first book that I ever read, like a book that I willingly read, not like a school book. So it's kind of hard to explain it without spoiling it, but it's a ballerina in Paris and she takes these ballet classes and some stuff happens and she falls in love with someone and that person is like, you know, it's like a plot twist who that person is. There is like plot twists left and right in this book. It is an amazing book. Overall, I would definitely rate it a 5 out of 5 stars because it's super, super sweet. It made me cry like 10 times, which is a good thing. It means that it's like, you know, it's not a bad thing, and it's very, very sweet. And the characters are amazing. The couple that's in it is like so sweet. And if you like Paris and romance and ballet, I definitely recommend this book because I like never see this book anywhere. I got recommended to it online on a book app, and I read it. And I was like, this is amazing, 10 out of 10. So I definitely recommend you do this. The second book I'm going to be recommending and reviewing is called The Upside of Falling, which I'm sure you've heard about because it's kind of been going around a little bit popular, but here's a picture of it. This is the second book I ever read, and it's, if you have heard of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, it is kind of similar to that. So it's about this girl who needs to have a fake boyfriend for, you know, a reason. I'm not going to spoil it. And so this girl and this guy start fake dating, and then it's like slowly turns into like real love, and it's so sweet. It made me cry like 5 times, I think. It's really, 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 really sweet, and I would rate it 4.5 out of 5 because there's like a couple things that I wish it would have done instead of something, but overall it's a really, really nice book and I really recommend it if you love romance books. The third book I am going to be recommending and reviewing is called The Fill-In Boyfriend, and this one is by Casey West. I'll put it up here. If you've ever read any Casey West book, you know that Casey West is an amazing author. So this is also kind of similar to the other, to The Upside of Falling. It's this girl gets dumped in a parking lot of her prom or her dance, and then she needs a fake boyfriend to show her friends and prove to her friends that she had a boyfriend because they thought that she was faking it, and because her boyfriend just broke up with her, she would walk in with no one. So then she has to start fake dating this random person that she has no idea who it is, a random guy plucked out of a parking lot, and then they kind of started to fall in love. And it was like, I remember reading this book and I was like my jaw was dropped, like honestly, like it was super, super good. I would rate it a 4.5 out of 5 stars again, just because there's like a few things I would tweak about it, but overall is an amazing romance book. And finally, the fourth book that I'm going to be recommending and reviewing is called P.S. I Like You. And it is also by Casey West, and this is about a girl who scribbles some song lyrics onto her desk in chemistry, I think it is, and then the next day in chemistry she realized that someone finished out the song. So then they start like writing back to each other on the table, and then they start exchanging notes, like actual like pieces of big pieces of paper, and they start exchanging notes and like sharing secrets and stuff, and it slowly like turns into like, and they finally like find out who each other actually are, and it's so, so cute. I remember I read about 1/4 of this book just on my own, and then one night I read the rest of the book. So 3/4 of the book I read it in one night. I read it in like 4 hours because it was like I was like hooked on it, because I was like, you know what, I should probably like read a chapter in my book, you know. And after I read a chapter I was like, okay, I gotta do one more chapter, like this is really good. And I started reading and I was like, oh my goodness, this book is so good. And I just kept reading, and I was like, wow, it's like 2 a.m. right now. Like seriously, this book is so, 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 so good. I would rate it probably a 5 out of 5 stars. So now I'm going to be kind of going more in depth into why I like each book and why I recommend it, and an actual kind of more review on the book. So first obviously is Kisses and Croissants again. So this book, I remember reading it and I read like the first few pages in the library, and I was like, oh, this seems interesting, you know. And I was waiting for it to get into the romance part because it takes a few chapters to get into the romance part, and then I thought it was being romance and then it like swapped and it wasn't, and then it swapped and it was. And this book had my jaw dropped to the absolute like bottom of the floor of the earth. I was like, so many times where I was like, what in the world just happened, because it was so like bizarre, and I was like, I did not expect that at all. There was a huge plot twist. There's so many huge plot twists in this book. and it has many quotes that I love, and the characters are just, again, amazing, and I love the characters, and the characters are so sweet, and it's like you can really feel what the characters are feeling by the way that she writes in the book. I would definitely recommend Kisses and Croissants. It is my all-time favorite book out of any book I have ever read in my whole life. Also, the age rating for this book, I would say, is 12 and up. Next, I'm going to be doing The Upside of Falling, so here it is again, if you didn't see it. And this book, I remember reading it, and there was one part that I read it, and I was like, I was so confused on what just happened, but at the same time I was like really sad and really happy. And I remember like I couldn't even like continue reading because I was like so sad at what happened, and I was like, I can't do this, I need to go to bed, because I usually read at night because I like to just kind of have like silent and just be me reading, you know. Characters are very lovable, and I love the way that they are portrayed, and I just love everything about this book. It's a really good book, and I would probably rate it 13 and up. Next is The Villain Boyfriend, so right here. This book is literally amazing. I love it so much. It was my very first book that I read by Casey West, and when I read it, I was like, wow, this author, I don't know what she did, but like some magic thing, some magic potion. Like, this book is amazing. I love it so much. So the characters are a little bit harder to get to love. At least the main girl, I kind of had a hard time and kind of a little bit of a trouble like finding like my love for her, just like in the first like maybe 10 chapters, just because of the way she was acting. Also, the first half of the book is so much different than the second half. The first half felt like a whole different book than the second half. Like, I think that there was like a large gap in between there, because like the way that it was, like the way that the main character talked, and like just like how everything was like laid out, it was so much different. Like by the time I was at the end of the book, I was like, wow, that took a huge turn, and not because of something happened, it's just because like of how weird it was. So that was also a main reason on why it was kind of hard for me to like love the characters. The boy in the story, I instantly loved him the moment I found out that like who he is. In the moment I found out his name, I fell in love with him because of his name. Like not just his name, but like his whole character. I was like that name is amazing. That name is gorgeous, and I loved it so much. So like I love this whole book, and it's a really good book, and I definitely think you should read it. I would say that it's probably 11 and up. And the last book that I'm going to be reviewing is called P.S. I Like You Again. And again, this is by Casey West, so it is obviously amazing. And again, this is another 5-star. It is so good. So the start of it was really like the first few chapters, it was kind of hard to get into the book, but after like, I said 3, but probably after like 10 to 15 chapters, the chapters are kind of short, it starts to get into like, wow, this is a good book, you know? And there was lots of twists and turns. There was a huge plot twist in it. At least it was huge to me when I found out the plot twist. And I was like it kept me going. It was like, okay, I need to know I need to find out what happens. I also kind of guessed the plot twist, but I was like guessing 2 different like things for the plot twist happen, and then my first guess was right. The main character is really like, I can really relate to her, and she loves music just like me. Like I'm like any free time I have, I'm listening to music. Chances are, like when I'm waiting for anything to happen, I'm listening to music. Or I usually have music play on my Alexa, just like at all times. I'll just have my playlist playing. So it was really easy to find my love for her and find like the feelings that she was like, find the emotion that she was feeling in this book, because I can relate to her so much. So that's one of the reasons why I also really like this book, and that's another reason why I give it a 10 out of 10, was because I could relate to the character so much, and it was so easy to feel her emotions and how like deep their emotions were in the book. And it's not a super sad book at all. There's nothing like really sad about it. Like it has a happy ending, but I was so sad when this book ended, because I really wished that it had a longer like it went on for longer, because it's so good. And also the guy in the story, he's so sweet. I love him. But yeah, so, and I would probably rate this 11 out of 11 and up as well. Alright, so that is it. I'm only going to be doing the 4 because I have read other books, but I didn't read them all the way through. Like I'm currently reading 2 books, and there was a book that I read, but I only read half of it because I wasn't really into it. So that's why I only did these 4, because these ones I read all the way through, and I totally recommend them to everyone. even if you don't like romance books, like I definitely recommend it because it might get you into romance, because I've always loved romance movies and romance books and stuff like that, but like these like really helped me get like into romance like books and stuff. And it's also like, you know, appropriate for teenagers and stuff, but not without being like too like little kiddish, if that makes sense, you know. So that's why I really, really, really recommend these books. And if you guys have any book recommendations for me, please leave them, because I love reading and I will probably read anything that you recommend to me. And also, if you have any thoughts on these books, or if you've read them, or if you're going to read them, please tell me, and please tell me what you thought on the book, because I would really love to hear your things. Also, if you guys would like to follow me on my book things, I have Likewise and Goodreads. I will leave them. They are down in the description. Normally they're at the bottom of the description, but I'll put them at the top for you to easily find if you have either of those. And you can follow my profile, and I'll ask for book recommendations a lot, or I'll post book recommendations. So if you want to keep up to date with with my thoughts about books, definitely go follow me on those, because I'm active on those a lot. I'm more active on Likewise than Goodreads, but I go on both a good amount. I think that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I see me keyboard. Bye.
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blitzen and all his reindeers pulling on the reins.